Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I wanted to make an important video regarding a very important news story I just came across today. And by the way, those of you that have recommended other news stories, thank you. I'm checking them out and working on them. And actually I'm trying to find a better way to present these news stories. But when I came across this one today, I had to make a video talking about not only this sad story, but the sick and broken system that enables it. And I will also put a link to the story in the box below. So where do we begin with this one? Where do we begin? Well, how about this 14-year-old girl weighed only 35 pounds when she was found at the home of her father, his wife, and his wife's family. Yup. I too can smell the Cheeto dust through the screen. And I hate to say that, but look. We were just talking about this. Narcissists want to sabotage every area of your life. If you are from a rich family, they might sabotage your ability to manage money. Or might put you in situations where you develop a substance abuse habit. In poor families, they will sabotage your education and your health. In a great many cases, becoming obese is a sign you are going with the program. And if you are their target and they can see you aren't going their direction, they still might try to make you obese. And if they can't do that, they will starve you. Or they will mess up your education. So many here recall not learning how to drive until they were darn near 20 years old, and others even later. Because their parent or parents did everything to make it so driving would never happen for them. And it's all on purpose. And again, the scapegoat, or the one that tends to have to go through this evil sick abuse, they are usually the light that shines the brightest. They see that this young child is smart, good-looking and wise beyond their years. And evil demons like these get a kick at destroying what is good and what is right. To watch the light of God fade out of their eyes. And this is how you know evil and demons are real. Now thank God this young girl was found in time. But what if she wasn't? These evil demons would have gotten caught for such an evil happening eventually. But the demons that are in them make them not care. All that pumps through their veins is evil. And it's this sick, twisted system that supports and enables this kind of abuse. Look. I'm not a rocket scientist or anything. But I would gather these people didn't work at all. They were likely on some sort of state or government assistance program. Look. I'm kind of an authority on this. Because as a child I grew up on the worst side of town. In a dangerous neighborhood. And I will tell you, majority of everyone was on one form of an assistance program or another. And regardless of their background, religion, race or creed, 98% of them reminded me of these. These so-called people behind me. They were all overweight. Most of them anyways. The men that would show up from time to time were majority of the times criminals or drunks. And most of them were taking full advantage of the system, and they expected all of their many children to follow suit. And if they didn't want to follow suit, they were deemed as a problem. There was maybe 2 or 3 families that I remember while living in this neighborhood, that were on the up and up. And that were on assistance programs for the simple fact they actually needed the help. And they were only living there and were on such a program for a short while. Until they moved away, never to come back again. Only after living in such a neighborhood after a year or two, the mother or father or both got good jobs and were able to move up in life. They were always the nicest families. And I was always sad to see them go. But the rest of everyone that was living there weren't good people, let's just say. And it was like living in the land of Jabba the Hutt. Now eventually we too moved. Though to a slightly better part of town. It was still a semi-poor area. But I was closer to those from all walks of life. It was my first time seeing people go to work in the morning. It was weird. But that other area, There were hundreds and hundreds of families that were literally scamming the system and that were financial drains on society. And I'm going to tell you, that is a special kind of narcissism. If you are going to get on welfare, eat and eat and eat until you destroy your own health. You sleep half the day and then waddle around the neighborhood in your hoodie and pajama bottoms pretending to be a responsible person. Having child after child and expect them to live in the exact same screwed up way. And I can tell you, I didn't want to live the way my mother had prepared for me to live. She too wanted me to be on the system lifelong. And because I questioned everything, I would hear her lie about all kinds of things to the people that were trying to so-called help her. And later I would question her about it. This made me a target. Because she knew I wasn't going this direction. But again, it's a special kind of narcissism to actually want this screwed up life for your children. These are the people that should be removed from welfare. Stop letting them sleep all day and eat and eat and eat and be a drain on everyone. Not just because it's a drain on everyone, but because it's freaking child abuse. If you are a child and living in such an environment, with such dysfunctional parents, and even if they aren't going to the extreme of starving you down to 35 pounds, I can confidently say, you were abused. And such parents never cared about you. Because they don't even care about themselves. Let me let you in on a secret. Because I lived in such a neighborhood. And it's usually the ladies there. Most of them are so obese to the point where they cannot walk. Because they know that if they get into decent physical shape the assistance money might all of a sudden stop. It might not. But they don't want to risk it. So when they go to their caseworker, they can show up with their walkers and canes and oxygen masks and prescriptions and doctor's notes and this medical problem and that medical problem. And mind you, they are all doing this to themselves on purpose. Because they want to get that free money. They are literally ruining their own health because they want money. And they want to sleep all day and do nothing and they don't want to be responsible for anything. And likely every one of these individuals behind me likely grew up in a home where they didn't stand a chance. But like I've said many times before, they at an early age chose to go along to get along. And they went the way of their narcissist parent or parents. And the scapegoats. They are called the evil one or so their narcissists' parents claim they are. And most of the time they get kicked out. Kicked out to freedom. But the damage is still there. I struggled for many years with my education. Because I grew up in a home with no help whatsoever. And any person that was in our life that was able to help us was removed. And my mother just fed on the pain and sadness and problems I had to go through while going to school. Year after year trying hard. But not knowing what I was doing. But it was all a part of a bigger plan. I believe my mother hoped that if I couldn't drive, and if I had no education, I would one day just say, screw it, and get on whatever assistance program she could get me on and live in the same sad and dysfunctional way she was living. And I don't call sleeping half the day, eating a bag of Cheetos and then waddling around the neighborhood living at all. And because these types of so-called people know this fact about you, they have to snuff it out. And especially the young women behind me. They know their lives were ruined. They know it. And they can't stand to see someone that has so much promise to make it and have a better life than they are having. So they starved this little girl to 35 pounds. But yet no one is saying that this lifestyle is a problem. And this is a lifestyle. Now not every family like this is going to starve their child down to 35 pounds. But majority of these people's goals is to ruin their children's lives. So they can't function properly in society. And so they get on the system and they stay in the dysfunctional household filled with Cheeto dust. And they are willing to repeat the cycle over and over and over again. And though not every family like this will starve their child down to 35 pounds. These stories keep happening and happening and happening. And the news reports on it and says how sad it is. but they will never address the root cause and problem. People like the ones behind me. If they were on such assistance programs. And I don't know for sure if they were. But I highly doubt they were out there working normal jobs. Maybe they were. Maybe one of them had a job. But if I were a betting cartoon man, I would bet this is a household of legacy assistance programs spanning multiple, and I do mean multiple, generations. These are the people that should not be getting a dime from anyone. But what they do is they on purpose have children. Because they know if they have a child, they can't be turned away. So they are simply using their child as a human shield. I used to use that term when talking to my mother all of the time. Even when I was quite young. Because that's exactly how I felt. I felt like even at a young age my only reason for being on earth was so my mother could get a check. And she used me as a human shield to shield herself away from being held responsible for her own life. And as soon as it was all over and I was too old, I was told if I don't want to get on some sort of program I need to get lost. No thank you for living off the earnings she got from my father. No thank you for the assistance programs she enjoyed because I was alive. It was just get lost. And sadly, some children go the way their parents want them to go. Because they are scared and because they feel like they have no other options. Then before you know it, that fear turns to anger. Anger and evil they repeat onto others. With that said, I do pray for this child. I pray she heals and recovers and lives a great and full life. And I pray these individuals behind me never see the light of day again. And I pray God has mercy on their souls. Well, that's all I have for today. I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.